Check, check. Check, check. There we go. So in a few seconds, let me know if you can hear it all right. Check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check.
You hear that?
Yeah. 1 minute, 47 seconds.
Let me retweet this on Twitter too.
That'll do it. Yeah, but I mean, check on there.
You might have to hit it again.
Check, check.
Yeah, it's not playing yet.
Check on there. Sounds like we're perfect.
Sounds good to me. Hit it again. Hit it again.
Mm-hmm. Why can't I go live with this? 20 seconds. Problem issues.
Welcome aboard to the Captain Crypto Show.
Yeah.
Here's your host, Kylan Hurt.
Yeah, here we go. Give me a second. That's gone. Stop streaming. Sorry, guys. Give me a moment here. Restream. It's giving me issues. It's giving me serious issues.
Need to get a MacBook.
I did get a brand new MacBook Pro.
Oh, nice.
I haven't set up yet. I just received it today. Give me a second here, guys. Trying to make sure the stream's all figured out. Yeah, it is having problems, isn't it? Live stream key. You guys can't see any streams, right?
I'm on Facebook, I got you.
You can see it.
And I'm getting feedback from Twitter. It says Mike sounds great.
Cool. This is so weird. Should we just start?
I see you on YouTube, too.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'll just start in a second then. Today? First. May Day. All right. Let me... Sorry, guys. One more moment here. Lower thirds.
I feel like it's a sleepy period in crypto right now.
Sleepy.
Yeah. A calm.
Yeah, it is. I
Calm
think
before the
people are getting-
storm.
All right, so let's just go ahead and kick this off. I don't know. I feel like Facebook's having some issues, but can't really do too much about that. Yeah. Actually, let me try. Oh, I can't reload it, can I? Okay, fine.
All right.
Let's go ahead and start. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard to the Captain Crypto Show. Today it is Tuesday, May 1st, 2018. So it's May Day, but I'll tell you, I don't see any commies marching out in the streets. So it's the century of crypto, I'd like to think. So it's the Captain's Council, which of course is when we go over the latest and greatest in the world of cryptocurrency. And that means off to my left, I got Tay.
What's up?
And off to my right, I got Jackson.
What's up?
Two familiar faces, but we actually haven't seen Tay in a while. So before we get to some of the cryptocurrency news, I kind of wanted to discuss some of your latest travels because it seems like more than anyone on the crew, you are constantly traveling and kind of seems like you have your finger on the pulse of the cryptocurrency in general.
I mean, I think we messed up the introduction on Tay International.
Tay Internacional.
That's right. I try to stay
Internacional.
international.
That's right. So go ahead. Let us know where'd you go?
So obviously I went back east, to Maryland, DC area.
Right.
But then from there went down to Puerto Rico, working with some people down there. A lot of crypto things going on there. Actually, in about 2 weeks, they're kicking off Restart Week on the west side of Puerto Rico Island, so Mayagüez area. I guess it's close to Rincon, but they got a big, huge student population out there, so they're trying to build up a startup culture Obviously, they're working in crypto. They got some guys out there called, I think it's called EduBlock, and they're actually trying to use crypto and educate people on crypto. And it's real grassroots. Guys out there, they got a hacker house in San Juan. They just hooked up. So they're doing it. I mean, they're real inclusive. If you're working with crypto and you're in Puerto Rico, get with those guys, EduBlock, or anybody that's in crypto down there, and you can find them easily. So.
Yes, so it sounds like Restart is just kind of like a movement to try to restart the economy there and
Exactly.
try to get everything back up and working again, I guess.
Yeah, back up working and get it to a different place. I mean, obviously you have a certain mindset in a lot of places. So
Right.
When things happen and have a habit of happening over time, people kind of get, some people can get put in a certain mind frame.
Right.
Yeah, okay, this is just the way things are. But you got a new, vibrant community down there trying to come up. You got people coming down there to help them out with crypto and other things like that. So pairing those folks up, and hopefully by this time next year, you'll see a whole new, vibrant community down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it sounds like they're having a lot of events there. Have you noticed any improvement in I know it's still kind of fresh off the whole hurricane thing, but
Right.
have you started already to see, construction activity kind of?
Oh, there's definitely construction, and there's definitely, I would say, revamping of older buildings. So,
Right.
I mean, you see guys down there, solar projects, construction projects. I mean, if you're in that stuff and you want to do something, you should just push down there, because
Right.
you're gonna get something done. It's open for business when it comes to that. Obviously, I would say probably in a year it'll probably be, I don't know, but it seems like in a year it'll be a little bit harder to get on a grassroots movement of anything down there. But for right now, it's still pretty prime.
Got it. So I'm curious then. So are you going to be going back to Puerto Rico? It sounds like it's
Probably yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, are you ever going to set up residence there? It almost.
We'll see.
You're
I mean,
going
if
a
it's,
lot.
that's the thing. I mean, I am international, so I don't know if I want to stay in one place too long right now.
Okay.
But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, but there's an advantage to having your home base there because there's some tax incentives.
Tax incentives,
right?
yeah.
I think a lot of people know about that, but you tell everybody like what kind of
So
deals they're driving down there?
Act 20 and Act 22. One is for your personal tax benefit, and the other is for your business tax benefit. The things I know about it cost about, I would say, $5,000 to $8,000 to set it up. So for personal gain, somebody put out a figure like you need to make maybe 40 to 60,000 in investments for it to be worth it for you to do that. Then you also have to spend 6 months out of the year there, and I believe it's just 6 months. So if you want to spend a week at a time, and that'll take forever, but you don't have to stay there for 6 months at a time. So, and that includes whether you're renting or owning a place. So it can, I guess you can do it on the cheap. You pay your fee to get switched over, and you rent at some place you can afford, and then reap the benefits of it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where does it draw the line? Is it like when you actually sell and have a tax liability there, or is it come from like when you actually bought the asset that?
Yeah, I believe it's, and I'm not exactly sure, but from when I asked to get clarified on that, it was whatever you buy while you're a resident of Puerto Rico, that is tax-free for that next year. So obviously this year, I think if you were to go there and set up, like, your tax benefits probably wouldn't kick in until next year's taxes. So
do they make it easy to become like a resident there? It's something where it's
right
pretty
now,
painless?
yes.
Okay.
But the target is shifting.
Right.
At one point, I guess it was a few more benefits to it.
Right.
Now they're starting to wean off, and then who knows? That's why I said by next year things might be harder to do, because all the people
There's
who were
enough
savvy,
demand.
right? All
Right.
the people who were savvy on their taxes, the smart people that were going down there early will probably be there by then, or at least have something going on by then.
Got it. So it's almost like, they realize that they're in high demand, so they're starting to make you jump through their hoops, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious, would you have any upcoming travel plans at all, or?
Besides going back maybe for Restart Week, I mean, I want to push over to maybe South America somewhere. I haven't picked the country yet, but I got some friends in Colombia.
There you go.
Obviously, Europe and Africa is always on my radar because I got family and friends all over there. So
Yeah, and that's not too far from Puerto Rico either, right? So that's close enough. You kind of just
you mean Colombia?
Colombia from Puerto Rico?
Right. It's not
both Caribbean, right?
yeah, but the route you take coming from here
Okay.
are totally different. You got to fly back to at least Miami,
Okay.
and then get back down. So
Okay, got it. Well, it's nice to have you back.
yeah,
All right,
appreciate
so for all the audience at home, just remember we are live, I think on not D Live this time, but we're on YouTube, Facebook, we should be on Twitter live. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw them our way. We like to interact with the audience. It's good to know what you guys are thinking, what kind of questions you have. It helps us get our finger on the pulse of the community in general. So we have several stories this week. Every week we have several stories. The first one that I thought was kind of interesting, this was maybe from several days ago. I think Jackson might have a little bit more information on that, but it sounds like some of the leadership at Nasdaq actually mentioned that they were considering at some point the possibility of becoming a cryptocurrency exchange. Obviously, Nasdaq, they're a more established, traditional financial company. And I know a lot of people, well, some people, when they think of something like the New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq, they, what's the term? They recoil a little bit. But on the other hand, some people also think that we need that sort of quote-unquote legitimate money in order to legitimize the ecospace. So I guess I'll start off with Jackson. When you kind of heard news about this, what were your thoughts on something like Nasdaq becoming a cryptocurrency exchange? I assume it would have to be fiat to crypto, because I think by the time they get in, decentralized exchanges, I would think, would probably be already up and running.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. I have that opinion that you're kind of talking about, or you don't kind of cower away. You don't want to
Right.
deal with anything to do with traditional banking system. That's kind of why a lot of people are interested in Bitcoin and trying to subvert that kind of system. But if you think about it in terms of that's where all the money is.
Right.
So the money has to move from there to the new system if this is ever going to be successful. So you
Right.
have to see that happen. But then other than that, it's also Bitcoin's not integrating into their system. They're integrating into Bitcoin because there's no way for them to change it in the other direction. So it's kind of cool that way. Just to fill out the details of the story, Nasdaq came out and said that they're partnering with Gemini, the popular Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency exchange that's run by the Winklevoss brothers.
Okay.
And they are partnering with them on the way to use Nasdaq's algorithms for detecting certain types of fraud and manipulation. So they're using Nasdaq's technology for that, licensing that. And with that conversation happening, they asked Nasdaq, are you guys interested in becoming a cryptocurrency exchange? Binance, Gemini, Coinbase, they're all making a killing in this market.
Right.
Do you guys want in on it? And they basically came out and said, yes, it looks interesting to us, but we deal in established markets, and it would have to be much more mature and more regulated before we would feel like it was worth risking our brand on that type of market. So I don't think it's worth getting super excited about, but it's kind of cool that they're not just saying no, it's drug money and we're never going to be interested in that.
Got it. Well, what do you think, Tay? Are you excited about the possibility of NASDAQ becoming an exchange? As much as I'd love to hate on the traditional financial establishment, something like NASDAQ would give a lot of people more access to cryptocurrency.
Yes. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's more exposure. Obviously, they cover precious metals on, different exchanges as well. And that's one thing that people can still trade on the old barter system if they want to. When they brought it up, I actually thought about that, and I was like, I'm sure this argument has been talked about years ago, but people got to remember, we're still measuring cryptos, Bitcoin, in its largest unit possible, 1 Bitcoin.
Right.
But nothing else of value do we measure in the largest unit. We always measure in the smallest unit. So if you do the math on even 1 kilo of gold, it's 35 ounces. 35 times 1,300 is over $46,000.
Right.
So it's good to play around with the math a little bit on your own, just so when you see numbers of Bitcoin, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, and then you relate it to a precious metal, you're talking about the smallest unit of a precious metal and the biggest size of a Bitcoin, or oil even, you know what I mean? Like we measure oil in a barrel, but we know it comes in ship sizes, you know what I mean? Metric tons.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't know if this is interesting or not, but the other day I accidentally was on like a European style site, and over there they use a period instead of a comma to denote
Right,
like 1,000.
right.
And so like they're accidentally posting prices in millibits.
okay.
Because they're moving it over one
Right, right.
decimal. Like they're not actually doing that, but when I read it, it looks
Right.
like they're putting a millibit price.
Yep.
And I got super excited. I'm like, somebody's actually using millibits prices.
Yeah.
And
That's
they're
funny.
not. They're just
They're
I mean,
not.
but if we go to, let's just imagine, let's just daydream. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000 or close to 100,000 this year, then even that millibit size will be
yeah,
like,
that's 10 grand.
it's still too much, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
to measure. So I think we just have to wait and see. Once it blows up again and sticks there, then we're like, okay, we need to move this back a little bit. Nobody's going to talk about one whole Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah, I think one of the proposals that is most popular, and I think Jimmy Song actually wrote up a bit for it, is to move to, I think, bits.
Right.
And that gives you like the same unit everybody's familiar with, like chunks of 100. You have
Right, right.
Satoshis as cents, basically
Right,
the smallest
right.
unit, and then 2 decimal points as a bit.
Okay.
And then you can have,
I like that.
I
like
think,
the sound of
a
that.
million bits in a Bitcoin. Is that right? I'm not sure.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, and the one thing that I would say about the traditional money too is that a lot of the stuff they've done, they've already got like the user interfaces that look good.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the one thing that really the cryptocurrency space isn't very good at. Everything's still a little bit clunky. So that's something that we'll have to get figured out if we really want to reach everyone, because not everyone's technical enough to figure out how to use some crazy cryptocurrency stuff. Right. So you would think something like Nasdaq or TD Waterhouse or TD Ameritrade, those sorts of large companies, they've already been doing it for decades.
Right.
So you think they already know kind of the ins and outs. So
Well, if the thing about it is, if Nasdaq goes with crypto, then you'll see it on people's E-Trade, Fidelity, TD, all those accounts that most people are familiar with already.
Yeah, we're already kind of getting there a little bit with Bitcoin futures.
Yep.
So they have it on quite a few of the bigger major exchanges for commodities. And then way back when those first started coming out, Nasdaq said that they were looking to do it near the middle of this year. So that's actually kind of coming to where they said they're going to do it. But I haven't heard anything about it since then. So.
I don't think they want to pump the price too early.
They haven't built their position yet.
Yeah.
Do you think some of those more like traditional money companies that are getting involved, when they start up, when they first offer some cryptocurrency, do you think, like let's say NASDAQ offers some sort of cryptocurrency that people can buy with US dollars, do you think they would still start only with Bitcoin, or do you think we're at the point where other cryptocurrencies have kind of proven themselves enough to be listed during that initial...
Yeah, they're definitely going to have at least the Coinbase coins right now.
Right.
I feel like Coinbase is the proving ground for
Right.
most places. And if you can at least, Gemini, what they have just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they had their plans. It seems like they just kept getting delayed. So you kind of got to give them a little bit of time because it took them forever to get approved. But yeah, I see at least 3-4 coins on everybody that wants to offer crypto.
Yeah, I'd like to see it Bitcoin only because that's my philosophy. But I think that you guys are probably right. Some of the coins probably do have the history and technical savvy to be like in the conversation. And then on top of that, all these exchanges make money off of trading fees. So
Right.
the more trading pairs they have, the more money they can make.
Right.
So I think they definitely have the incentives to bring them on.
And
I'd
it
be
might
pretty
be-
surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, it might also be about how much liquidity they have.
Yeah, of course.
So, if the pool's not deep enough for them to get in, they're not going to play with
Yeah,
it.
I think if it's gonna be Bitcoin only, I think that will be the reason, is
Right.
because it's the first one to
Right.
get to the point where they feel like it has enough liquidity that they could actually play.
Yeah, that's true. With liquidity can play a role too. Although, you would hope someone like Nasdaq, hopefully they'd be able to bring in a bunch of, how would I say it? Well, a bunch of liquidity. What's the term I'm looking for? Just more volume, I guess, is the term
Yeah.
I'm looking for. Okay, yeah. So we'll see. A lot of people have been talking about traditional money getting involved in Bitcoin in 2018, and I think that is starting to happen. And we'll see just how much it happens during this year, and of course, what kind of effect that'll have on price. So one thing that I wanted to discuss this week, and we also discussed it quite a bit last week, was the price fluctuations. I think we saw quite a bit of an increase. I'm trying to think, maybe about 2 weeks ago, and then about a week ago, things started to decrease. And I should say I am a holder of EOS at this point. I've already talked enough about it. You guys at home probably know that. So when it goes up, I'm aware of it. When it goes down, I'm aware of it. But it shot up pretty much faster than just about anything else during the last few weeks. But that also meant that when it went down probably percentage-wise a bit more than some of the other cryptocurrencies, which is kind of what you would expect. But the reason I thought this was interesting is because I'm looking at how the community is reacting to it. So the people who are EOS fans and holders versus the people who don't like it. So and there's some clear sort of, I don't know if you call it factions. So like if you go into the Ethereum subreddit, right, a bunch of them, it seems, I'm sure some of them are EOS holders, but a lot of them are very defensive right now. They're feeling the heat, right? Because here comes this cryptocurrency that hasn't even launched yet, to be fair, but when it launches, there's the chance that it will scale better than Ethereum. And here they've spent all of these years, Ethereum was this cutting edge technology, and it still is, but there is this question of like, is there a prettier girl at the dance now? Right. So if you go, it was interesting. I was kind of what would I say, surprised a little bit at how much attention EOS was getting in the Ethereum's related subreddits. So I was just kind of like, okay, why are you complaining about EOS in these subreddits? Like, go to the EOS subreddits. Right. Like, what do you even? Why are you even?
That might be a good sign for EOS.
That's kind of how I'm reading it right now. I will also say that there have been plenty of trolls. Obviously, when prices go up, everyone's talking about moon, Lambos, whatever. That's to be expected. But there have been some people who, in some of these Facebook groups, there have been trolls, and people are like, oh, look at EOS, it's gone down harder today, than the rest of the cryptocurrencies. And the people in the EOS groups, they do not give a shit. They're actually very good at looking long term. They're like, dude, we're all gonna laugh at how cheap things are today.
It's crazy because like, if you're gonna crap on a coin, EOS is not the one you want to do it on. If it's a threat to your major hold, which is Ethereum, I guess, okay, I can see why you would be a little upset. But just take the facts in. Like, so what we know so far, okay, it's not out. That's one strike against it. But the creator of it, Dan Larimer, created two other successful cryptos that are still doing well, still going to prove, and can link in with EOS after EOS is on, live, I guess. But it's just one of those things where you just gotta, even if you're against it, you have to weigh like, okay, am I trying to make money on this, or am I just against it for, I don't know, principle?
Yeah.
And if they can be two different things. Maybe you don't like the principle EOS, but you want to make money, so you have some EOS. But if you do the inverse, I don't know, it's probably not gonna work out good for you.
I don't follow this story super closely, so for the people like me, what is the trading range that EOS has been in lately?
For like dollars?
Yeah.
So for a while it was kind of stabilized around like $6.50, I think.
That was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and then it got up to about 24, almost 25, I think.
Did it go to 25? I
think
saw it like 22.
I think it's like 23 and a half or something.
And that was like day before yesterday.
Right, and then now it was down to like 16, but then now it's 17, now it's 18. So it's doing well.
Yeah, it's doing real well. Coming from, like, it topped its previous highs that it hit in when everything was pumping in December, January. I think it went down as low as $5, maybe like $4 for a day.
Its old all-time high was way back in like August of last year.
Right,
so it had that initial hype, and then like,
yeah, but
everything died down.
It came out in July, and then it came out at $1.
Right.
Dropped off, I think, September to like 50 cents, 40 for a little bit, 40 cents for a little bit, and then just started climbing back up. When everything pumped, it actually hit $20, I think, in January. Went back down when everything went down. But it only touched the low of $4 for a very short time, and then it's back to 5, 6. So last 2 weeks has been great.
Yeah, people have been kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. They're just trying to grasp for straws a little bit. I'm not saying that EOS is perfect. I'm sure there will be
Right.
issues, but they're not always, their arguments aren't always the most compelling ones.
No.
So this is one that got a lot of attention. This is Joseph Young on Twitter. I guess his Twitter handle is I am Joseph Young, which is very creative. EOS is worth more than SpaceX in late 2017 at $17 billion. One launched a rocket to space. One launched a test net.
Oh, man,
Agreeing with 2-Bit Idiot, okay, which is another user, I think 17 billion is a bit excessive for a blockchain network that has not launched its mainnet. But like the whole point of investing is, or a big part of it is potential, right? Like
Yes.
that's he's completely ignoring that. So I
Right.
don't know who this is supposed to convince, and I get it. It's kind of like, oh, SpaceX went to the moon, like, but SpaceX, first of all, they get all sorts of subsidies. You know what I mean? They're not. Yeah, of
I mean,
course,
it's
they're
like-
not. They're not even making a profit. I don't think.
It's
at
like
this
any
point.
of the-
So
any of the
why
tech
would they be
companies-
worth that much?
It's like any of the tech companies today. 20 years ago, older investors would be like, "Oh, well, they don't even make any real products. Like Facebook, how could they ever be worth this? They don't even have any hardware they make." Okay, we're in a new space, my friend. We're in a new era.
It's almost like they're the same people being like, "Well, I can't hold a Bitcoin in my hand."
Exactly.
It's like, okay,
Yeah, but
buddy.
Yeah.
All right, well, I got to take the other side from you guys then. One, like the point Mateo was making, like tech companies that people don't understand. I totally agree with that. There's a bunch of tech companies that don't come close to making a profit, like
Right.
Twitter and Snapchat and stuff like that. I think those are completely crazy to invest in.
Right.
But I mean, it is that mentality that
Yep.
if it works, it's going to be huge. That's good. And then on the other side, like I think that EOS has to be crazy overvalued. Like I think that point of how much it's worth for a test net is pretty freaking crazy. But
But then is Ethereum like overpriced? Because well, I'm asking you because like their decentralized apps are almost like untenable. You almost can't. The transaction fees almost make it so it's not. At least
Right.
that's my understanding of it. Other than that, their other main uses as an ICO token platform.
That's the thing, though. I've asked this question at this table multiple times. Nobody can give me a reason why they want a single dApp. Like, there aren't any that are, like, actually fleshed out ideas. Like, it's not, like, the fact that they don't have a platform. They just don't have an idea that's, like, even possible.
I'm just gonna say, like, I remember 2007 when the iPhone was coming out, and some buddies asked me, like, "Tay, what do you think about the iPhone? You all into phones? What do you think about this iPhone?" I was like, "Man, I don't know," but like, I was like, the first generation is gonna suck. The second one, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when they said apps, I remember that saying, like, we're saying dApps now. I remember when they said apps back then. It was like, why do I need an app on my phone? What am I gonna do with it?
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
I
like-
call my mom.
Yeah.
Like that's all I like. It's a
Like,
phone.
literally, like, I remember even when cell phones started getting really big. I was actually here in San Diego in 2003, and one of my buddies didn't have a cell phone, and his family came to visit. It was like, "Hey, how are we gonna call you?" He's like, "I don't know. He just called a room, right?" He's like, and I was like, "I told you to get a phone." And I remember him arguing with me. He's like, "Tay, why do I need a phone? All I'm gonna do is say hello, goodbye." I was like, so
Right.
it's like this new technology comes in, and we always, without fail, underestimate it just because we don't understand the potential of it yet.
Well, I
Even
might
me.
be getting old then. I definitely saw
He
the
was younger than
potential
me.
of a cellular technology, but I don't see the potential in this. So
I see the potential in decentralized apps. I just think if there's a good argument against it, I think it would be that maybe the technology isn't quite there yet. Like even with Steam, it's cool what it can do, but it's for some reason the way things are set up, things become like an echo chamber. Jackson brought up a good point last time that a lot of these people using decentralized apps are not going to want to be tracked. So if they can't track you, they can't use algorithms to help you find new content that you will like. So I don't know if that's something where there will be modules that you can opt in, or I don't know. I don't think many people know what that is going to look like, or if that's going to hold back this whole space for, let's say, a few years or something like that.
The whole privacy thing to me is, I mean, I get it. It's important to a degree, but when you're online, it's just you get a fuller experience with a level of transparency,
right?
not being
right.
private. I mean, it's just like, if you want to be really private, you wouldn't have anybody getting online with videos Or I remember at one point everybody had an avatar. Nobody ever put their real picture online. Nobody ever used their credit card online. It was, so we had to, we're being tracked. If you're buying stuff on Amazon, you're buying stuff on any website online, if you got a subscription, they're tracking your behaviors. If you got Google Maps, it's probably tracking your physical whereabouts at all times.
Yeah.
Dude, that's freaking awesome, man. I can always check and see where I was.
Yeah, it's spooky, but at the same time, if you are ahead of it and you know what they're doing,
know what's happening,
and you know how to use it, at least you can get a benefit out of that versus just complaining like, oh, they took all my privacy. Well, yeah, you're in a public space, dude.
Yeah.
Or chick,
Yeah, and I to be fair, I've started digging into more decentralized apps, and so trying to get an idea of what is coming down the pipeline, stuff like that. So I'm reading a white paper about a project called Emanate. It's kind of almost weird to say that, and it's going to be kind of like Spotify or kind of like SoundCloud. But then there's a lot of questions that come in there, like, okay, well, like, are you just going to ignore intellectual property rights? Can I upload a Taylor Swift song and then make a bunch of money? Or like, how do you make sure the money goes to the person who actually made it? So there's a lot of details that will need to be ironed out. And I'm open to the possibility that the first generation of these decentralized apps will not be, that they could be underwhelming, I guess I would say. But even with that, just by being involved in that area and doing research, at least that would prepare me for like the next generation, maybe the second generation or iteration of them actually is effective. But yeah, I guess on a time frame, you're talking probably a couple years, 2-3 years before you get to that second generation.
Yeah, I just want to clarify real quick, like, my criticism is this. It's not that I don't think they're possible. It's just that I think that it's more like a Rube Goldberg machine where you have a billion different complicated things to make this thing happen when there's an easier way to do it, and people aren't going to want to go through the rigmarole to do it in a decentralized way.
Until they get paid for it. Paid for something they were doing for free before, like Steam. Like, if you go to Steam, its site right now, like, it looks better than it did last year, but it still sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
it's complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're on there and you're making content, like, literally you could put pictures on there, and I put a picture of a meal I had on there, some months ago, and I had like $6 that week just for the picture, right? Couldn't do that on Instagram or nothing like that. But now since Steam's gone up, that $6 is probably, I haven't taken it off, it's still there. That $6 is 3 times that, so $18 for a picture I took some months ago, and the right people liked it,
Yeah.
So once people start using that, and if you think about it, if you're getting paid to use a site, who cares how it looks? If you actually need to get paid, then.
But I don't think most people are like us.
They're not.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are just going to be users.
Right.
So if let's say the content producers are making money, that's great. But then how do you get enough users? Or maybe it doesn't matter. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
I haven't talked about these guys for a little bit, but there is the centralized version of that already, and it's called Supload. And they're just like Imager, but they share their advertising revenue. They get money from ads, and then whoever drove those impressions gets a cut of those ads, so you get paid for using the site. But I don't understand like where the Steam value is coming from, and like who wants to participate in that situation, because basically you're creating new Steam and paying people out for it, but like that money is inflation in the system, so all the holders are losing value to that. So why would anybody want to hold it to pay for every piece of content on Steam?
I don't, to be fair, I don't know what the inflation rate is on Steam or EOS.
I don't either.
But I think what they're betting is that the value of the platform will increase faster than the inflation rate. But you're right, it is something that will over time continue chipping away at the value of the actual tokens. But hypothetically, they could create one that's deflationary. I don't think that's against the rules or anything.
If it's deflationary, where are the new tokens coming from to pay?
No, let me rephrase that. That the inflation rate would decrease over time. So that's not. I guess that's not deflationary.
That means the payout will decrease over time.
Right, but if you were to denominate it in, let's say, dollars, hypothetically, the payouts could still be increasing because the value of the tokens is increasing, right?
Yeah, but if you have less inflationary money that is going into the system to pay creators, then there's less money paying creators.
Right.
So
So
then
you would
the
hope
system starts being worth less because there's less people that are
Well,
incentivized to post.
Yeah, it's kind of a circular thing.
I guess we'll
get
see.
it.
It's kind of thing. But
I mean,
I'm just
all
not
I know is
convinced.
I now that you're making that argument, I kind of see why they have their hold period. So even if you get
Right.
paid, you have to hold for like 2 months, and then you also have the Steam and the Steam back dollars. So I'm
Right.
thinking that's
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I'm thinking that's an answer to a lot of that. But either way, all I'm saying is, I post a picture on Instagram, I get nothing. I post a picture on Steam It or write an article on Steam It, I get paid $10.
And I'm saying post it on Subload, you'll have a better experience.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all,
True.
yeah, I'm all
But-
about
You might
that.
be right.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. Like Tay is right. There's a reason that system is in place where you're not allowed to withdraw because no one wants to hold this stuff. They want to get rid of it as fast as possible.
I think the whole 20-day like stake holding period thing is a usability nightmare. So
Yeah.
like I'm not. That's one of those things where I'm like if that's how your currency is that you need to like lock people in, then you know what I mean.
Yep.
So I do understand that. I guess the one thing I would say is since like Steam is its own blockchain, EOS is its own blockchain. Over time, hypothetically, there would be more and more platforms being built on it, which hypothetically would mean that its value was worth more over time. Or like if it's a video or audio a content publishing platform like YouTube or SoundCloud, over time there will be more content on there. So hypothetically, you would hope that that would mean that the value of the platform in general is increasing. But yeah, I mean these are all things that are fascinating. We'll find out, right? I think you guys do bring up a good point that this first iteration of decentralized apps, first of all, they're probably not going to come out super quick, not as fast as I don't think as people think that they'll come out, but they will come out and they will be very rough around the edges, and they may not be enough to really make decentralized apps the new thing.
Right.
That might take some time. And I feel in the past, Jackson's been the one telling me that. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm doing one on. I'm reading the white paper about Emanate, and it's the people from D Sound. So
Okay.
essentially, like Steam It for audio or for music. I'm keeping an eye on that, and maybe we'll join the platform once they launch. But they have a lot of bold stuff that they need to do, and from what I can tell, it's going to take them several months to even get started, years to actually do the stuff that they're talking about. Okay, so a recurring theme in this show, of course, is the whole, how would I say it, Bitcoin.com versus, or I guess I should just say Bitcoin Core versus Bitcoin Cash. And I think Jackson will know a little bit more about this one. So Bitcoin.com, which people associate the two together, it has been, they had a lawsuit coming at them, and which I guess when you're a .com, you are a company, you can receive lawsuits. And I believe that was for essentially calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin on their website.
misleading their users.
Right, so I guess they made a change to that. They undid that. So Jackson, what do you think? I mean,
Yeah, just to like run through the whole timeline, like obviously Bitcoin.com is owned by Roger Ver, and Roger Ver thinks that Bitcoin Cash is like the project that he wants to support, and he wants that to have the term Bitcoin. He thinks that that's the true Bitcoin. So he's supporting that with his companies, one of them being Bitcoin.com.
right.
So that's all good and well. People don't like it, but that's his opinion. That's fine. But recently, he actually switched it from calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin to actually like listing it as Bitcoin on the site. And so like if you went in there, you clicked on the Bitcoin
Like to
Block
actually
Explorer.
buy some?
Yeah, or
Block
to buy some. I'm not sure if it was to buy some, but I know the Block
The Block
Explorer
Explorer.
for sure. You clicked on Bitcoin and it would take you to a Bitcoin Cash blockchain
Why
explorer.
don't I see my Bitcoin on here? It's like, dude, because it's on Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, and so this is kind of a weird thing for me, and I don't like it, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, nobody can tell anybody what Bitcoin is. Like, Bitcoin
Yeah.
is whatever rules you want to validate.
Right.
And if you want to validate those rules and call it Bitcoin, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to get mad and flip people off because they call something Bcash instead of Bitcoin Cash.
Right.
Like, if he wants to call it Bitcoin, that's fine. But I thought that was it. It's over, whatever, Bitcoin.com. Don't tell people to go there. But the fact that they actually, and then some people got mad. They got like 300 people together that petitioned, said, we're going to go sue them. Nothing's been filed or anything like that. But then after that, they changed the site back and they removed that calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin. So I'm wondering if there actually is some legal standing, because I'm assuming what had to happen is Roger went and talked to his lawyers and like, can I actually do this? Am I going to get in trouble? And I assume they must have just told him, yeah, you're going to get in trouble. And they'd have to convince him because he wants this really bad.
Yeah. Right. So I was about to ask you, like, could it have just been social pressure or?
I don't think so. I mean, Roger Ver has not caved to any social pressure, and I think he's had about as much of it as anybody could stand.
Right.
So I think that this must be potentially going to hit him in his pocketbook, because I don't think he really understands anything else. So that's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but
yeah, I guess when I think about it, on one hand, I'm like, well, I guess if he really thought that Bitcoin Cash was Bitcoin, then maybe this is the way that a person would behave, just calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin everywhere. But on the other hand, he's one of the few people that would actually say that. I know there are people arguing it, but I don't know. What do you think, Tay?
I mean, I think he's purposely delusional because it benefits him.
Yeah.
So he's being stubborn to a delusional degree because it means more money for him, more influence for him, more everything that made him popular in the Bitcoin space is now making him unpopular. But if he could push Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin, then it fixes all those sins.
Right.
But I mean, you could say, the argument of it, the technical argument, which one is the real Bitcoin, whatever. It's like a few things. Like, okay, whatever the majority of the people believe is one thing, because Bitcoin, there's no person in charge of it. And
right.
They didn't file for a patent, right? But at the same time, if Bitcoin had a patent before the fork, this would definitely be some infringement because if you had Bitcoin before the fork and you had an address, and then you have the Bitcoin Cash afterwards, and you try to send that to a Bitcoin address, it would not work, right? Or would it?
Would, but it wouldn't be able to be sent out. You'd have to get a Bitcoin Cash wallet and use that seed. But technically, you could send it.
But if you did the same thing with with Bitcoin Core, whatever they want to call it from their end, Bitcoin to the old Bitcoin address, it would work, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things
Are you talking about how you lose your money?
No, I'm just saying, but so if you sent the true Bitcoin that we call, most of us agree on what is Bitcoin today, and before the fork, if you had an address then and you sent one of these Bitcoins to that address, it would receive it. It would send and receive.
Bitcoins? Bitcoin Cash?
Bitcoin to Bitcoin.
Oh,
new Bitcoin to old Bitcoin.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons.
I'm not trying to confuse anybody,
because you can do that. You could go to bitcoin.com and okay, I have a Bitcoin address. I'm going to send my Bitcoin to that, and it will send. But then you won't see it because you just sent it to a Bitcoin Cash wallet. Yeah, so it's recoverable, and they're probably getting really good at recovering them for people because they're confusing the crap out of people, and it's happening all the time.
Exactly.
But that's kind of that's the issue with this lawsuit. They're like, you guys are causing us harm because we might lose our money because you guys are lying about what address you're giving us.
Exactly. To me, it's if you're a businessman, it makes total sense. Don't use the same name. Don't even come close to their name. We're not going to come out with Mikey because it sounds like Nike. You know what I mean? We're not going to say Nike Light or Jordan Light, Jordan Cash, anything that has Jordan in it because it's too close, and we're not going to play that game. That's the whole Bitcoin Cash community. They just need to get that. That's the only argument that when they talk about is why even try to go that route? It's just confusing, and you just lose a lot of credibility from anybody that figures that out late. You know what I mean?
You know who does use that strategy is counterfeiters. So that's kind of more along the lines of what it kind of seems like to me. But I always, this is a super simple question, but it's so complicated to answer. And that's just how do you define Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to get any of the bigger players in the financial system into Bitcoin, because I mean, Roger Ver says it's one thing, I say it's another thing. Who's right? There is no easy way to put down a pen and paper and say this is Bitcoin. This is what defines Bitcoin. And it's probably impossible. It's so hard to do, but
it's good
at this point. It's a good thing, but it does come with it does cause some quirks, right?
That's good that we're sitting here in 2018 and we don't have the vocabulary, the ideas to fully grasp this new technology.
Yeah.
That kind of
You know?
risk is why people are making gains if
Right.
they're willing to take the risk of betting on this thing that people can't even describe
get
yet.
it.
Can we
Yeah.
even describe the internet still? I mean, we
That's-
think we got a hold on it, but maybe
I feel like I can describe the internet now,
Yeah.
but maybe it evolves and then I can't again. I don't know.
exactly.
All right. So the interesting thing is, I guess one of the things, the Block Explorer link was part of a Wikipedia article, which, I mean, God, when it comes to like PR, something like that, if you're going to tamper with, okay, what's Bitcoin Cash, what's Bitcoin Core, going to a place that's like, I'm not going to call it sacred, but Wikipedia is one of those things where like, come on, like this is supposed to be unbiased, which, okay, I get it if you think Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin, but I feel like the people who are making those comments, even them, I feel like they don't really believe it, you know? Only Roger Ver knows what he actually believes, but I think he looks at it more as a marketing strategy. If I was like, oh, could you send me some Bitcoin? He would have to train himself to say, yeah, here's some BCH. Like he must have gone through a period to train himself that, because I don't know many people who think of Bitcoin Cash as the real, not the real Bitcoin. I don't know how to say it. It's a fork. I mean, it's a fork. That's kind of how I look at it. But whatever. I mean, we could argue that either way all day long. Speaking of Wikipedia, it turns out that this is another story, but this is a good one. Turns out that during the year of 2017, Bitcoin, the article for Bitcoin was the 9th most read Wikipedia article.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what do you think will be like number one this year?
People, I mean, that's probably coming from the United States, right?
Yeah, I think it's like the English version,
Right.
you know?
So the American public is fickle when it comes to something could pop up this summer, or who knows, this holiday season. That's people are, I don't know, they just get bored with things very fast in our culture. So
Yeah.
Bitcoin will be around. It hopefully the price will be even higher and it'll be more ubiquitous. But I don't know. Search terms and search results, the trends, they move all over the place from like week to week.
Right. Yeah, I guess we'll see how 2018 goes. But I just thought that was a cool thing. That was maybe an indicator that we've started to make it right.
What was number one?
That's what I was trying to look up. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm trying to look it up, but
Or top 10?
I would think it's probably like Donald Trump or something.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
You know how it is.
Probably a good guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. So I saw some questions actually. Let's see where this is. This is on Facebook. I believe somebody asked a little bit about scaling. And granted, there's been a few things that have kind of happened with regards to scaling within the last week. And I don't know all the details, but from what I could remember, first thing was Charles Hoskinson,
Yeah.
the Cardano guy.
Yeah.
He came out, and I guess they have their proof of stake system is called Ouroboros, which is like a reference to an old like symbol where there's like a snake eating its own tail. So
Okay.
that's what an Ouroboros is. So I don't
Gotcha.
know. I don't know why they're using that term. It's maybe just because it's mythological or something like that. But essentially, they have finally started to nail down some of the. This we're gonna get really technical, so but we'll keep it light here. They've started ironing out some of the details for how they are going to do their proof of stake system. And so Charles Hoskinson, I believe, I don't know if he posted if it was just a comment on Reddit or if it was a video, but it was interesting because the first person who commented on it was Vitalik Buterin. So it was interesting to watch. You have two very, very high-level minds discussing proof of stake. Both are interested in it, and they're kind of discussing, okay, could this work, could it not? And it looked like, obviously, Vitalik, you would think, would probably be critical of the Cardano project's, what would you call it? Not research, but I guess their technological assertions. But it looked like he was relatively warm about the way that they were implementing it. So I don't know if any of you guys hold Cardano at home, but this would be, I don't know if I call it a buy signal. Some people would say it's overpriced right now, but at least it looks like there is some validation from other projects with regards to the proof of stake for Cardano, which is again, going to be one of the main core points of that currency. Are you guys? I feel like I already know. Jackson.
I have a different. Well, it's probably the same comment, but what was it called? Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
I actually think that's like brilliant because like proof of stake, like you're using your own native token to like provide security and like sustain itself. So if a snake is eating like its tail, it's like using its own body to sustain itself.
Okay, so it's
and so like an idea, you could start eating your tail and like sustain yourself and
like
grow more tail, and then you can keep going in circles.
That makes sense.
But I think if a snake actually eats its tail, it just dies. So that's my opinion.
The reality of it is that yeah, no, I think you're right. Maybe in proof of stake, it's a reference to the fact that they have the ability to hurt themselves, right? They have the stake, they have the power. They screw up, they mess up their own money.
Right.
Have you done any research on Cardano at all, or is that not really?
Yeah, I mean, Cardano, I took a real good look at it when it first came out. Charles, he's also behind ETC after Ethereum did its fork. So I think him and Vitalik actually worked together for a while. And I think he also does the IOHK project. Which
Yeah,
is,
I think that's the name of his company.
right, out of Hong Kong or Singapore.
Right, I think it's, something in
So,
Hong Kong.
Yeah, I know a little bit about Cardano. I don't know exactly how the technical part of it works, but I do know EOS, Cardano, and IOTA all seem to be like the next level
stuff,
of
yeah.
Ethereum. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
Like, so I guess Ethereum will be 0.2 blockchain, and they're trying to be, 0.3 or 3.0 or whatever. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah, one thing I will say, if we're going to talk about like the different leaderships of like some of the different projects, you have someone like Vitalik who doesn't really talk on the on the mic very much. He's more of like a type things out type of guy.
Yep.
And you never really see him say anything bad about anyone else. And then EOS has Dan Larimer, and he's very I like him. I think every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, okay, I like this guy. He's very to the point. He's very good with he's very down to earth. He's good with his words, and he just seems like he wants to do good things.
And he seems like he has a lot of experience, but not like resting on that experience.
Right.
When you look up videos of him talking and all that, it's not a lot of fanfare. It's nothing. He's just talking to the point, and it's probably going to be a long talk, and it's going to be technical.
Right.
But it also, I don't know where I get, because I know him and Charles Hoskinson, they kind of have some beef going on between them.
Yeah.
When they talk,
Charles Hoskinson's just an attack dog. That's what he does. That's like he's kind of like a Roger Ver type almost. He likes,
because
which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
He comes off like that when he talks about Dan Larimer.
Yeah.
So it's
I think he knows who his competition is, and that's just how it is. Yeah.
Yep.
With Dan Larimer, I like Dan Larimer especially because he's to the point and he's proactive. So if an article comes out and says, "Oh, there's this vulnerability in EOS," he's not the guy that just sits back and is like, "Oh, let's just ignore it."
Right.
He'll have like a little an article written out within 48 hours. It just destroys whatever the supposed vulnerability was. So he focuses on the actual technology, the actual what will work, what won't.
Even one of his main criticisms is like, oh, he just starts these projects and takes off and goes does something else. You know what I mean? It's like he actually addressed and was like, well, I'm good at starting these things up, and they need to be maintained. He's like, I don't want to.
He's not a maintainer. He's a builder.
So like he goes out, crushes it. Like he's gonna build your building. He's not gonna live in it. You know what I mean? Like and manage the apartments for you.
Do you own any EOS?
Yeah, I got a little bit of everything.
That's what it's going to be my guess.
Yeah.
I was like, you sound like you own some.
I might have a little bit.
Yes, so I'm pretty. Let's see here, Cardano. We'll see. I don't know when they're trying to launch. I don't know. Do you know when they're launching? It's probably later this year, I would think.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm
they're probably watching the
too.
EOS launch pretty closely.
Right.
Let's see here. So another thing is, and I'm not going to go over this too much, but with Ethereum, Vitalik has been talking a little bit more about their scaling solutions, right? So they've been talking about sharding, Kademlia, stuff like that. And I think Who's Sailing I really don't know if I'll ever get your name right, man. He was asking your thoughts on Vitalik's announcement about scaling solutions on the Ethereum blockchain, sharding and plasma timeline, and chances of success. So my concern with Ethereum is that when you build a project and then you eventually see that there's an issue and then you try to solve those issues, when you try to solve the issues when you encounter them, it's not as efficient as trying to prevent them from coming up in the first place. So I am very strongly getting that feel with Ethereum right now that they are having scaling issues, and they've been talking for years about implementing these solutions. And I think everyone's waiting for any of these solutions to be like some big, not holy grail, but some fix-all. And it looks more and more like it might be incremental improvements that come. And the timeline that I'm seeing is pretty long. We're talking, okay, plasma, that sounds like it won't be ready till sometime mid next year, late next year at the best. I'm really actually concerned about the sharding part because I was reading actually IPFS, Interplanetary File System. What they do is they create what would you even call it, a distributed storage in the cloud. Right. But it's not that easy, because if you want to store things, then what if something happens where just this one little piece of the blockchain, the people who had a copy of it, if they all turn off their computers at the same time, what do you do at that point? Right. How do you prevent that from happening? And can you ever guarantee that it won't happen? So the whole distributed blockchain thing that they're doing with Ethereum, that would be Kademlia or sharding. That is something that is going to take them a while to pull off. And their blockchain, I believe, just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. So with Ethereum, I wish them the best, but I'm becoming a little bit concerned. And like I said, I just think maybe it makes more sense to put your money in projects that are starting with the wisdom of the issues, of the problems that the other projects have already gone through. So I'll openly say most of my Ethereum, I used to hold quite a bit, and I don't really hold that much anymore. Whereas EOS, I hold lots, or at least relatively for me, I guess I should say.
Yeah, we'll see when that mainnet kicks off.
Yeah. So I mean, June 3rd, mainnet is I believe is supposed to launch. You have to register your tokens before that. There's a part of me that's like concerned, like your stuff gets locked in. They won't launch it until like we have to get a certain amount of votes for block producers,
right.
And
that's going to be.
And the exchanges are probably not going to support this new token like immediately. Like we're going to have like a week or two maybe where it might be hard to like.
Right.
So it's like we'll kind of be locked in there for like a couple of weeks. So I know some people who just they don't want to deal with that. They're like, you know what, I like the price increase. I'll sell my tokens like 48 hours before, so I don't have to go through the risk of the launch.
Well, what about that's one way of doing it. But what about the there's Binance and I think a few wallets out there that already said they register them for you already.
Right. But it still doesn't mean that maybe you'll get the tokens or the coins quickly, but I don't know if you'll necessarily be able to like exchange them for anything,
Usually when they do stuff like that, they'll allow you to trade futures instantly.
Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see how much the coins are worth.
Yeah.
I know on one point I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, it sucks people have to register. But on the other hand, I'm like, dude, I hope a bunch of people fuck up.
Yeah.
Because then there's just like that less circulating supply, and that means the ones that I have will be worth more, right? So it's
I guess, unless you're the one messing up.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm actually for our San Diego blockchain meetup, our blockchain development meetup, or maybe just for SD Bitcoin meetup. I think I might actually have a presentation where I'll do it. Like maybe 3 days beforehand. I'll say, okay, let's go through the process of doing this,
right?
Because it would suck if anyone in our community just lost a bunch of money.
Right.
If there's money to be lost, let the other communities lose it.
Exactly.
Will this be a tax triggering event?
Probably.
I think it probably would be too.
I was talking about testnet.
Kylan.
I was talking about testnet. Yeah, I think as time goes on, I've found, I have to be careful what I say. I like Shapeshift. You guys use Shapeshift?
I don't.
Yeah,
I know what it is, but I've never used it.
As I think more about taxable, you know what? Never mind. when I think about taxable events, just realize Shapeshift doesn't. They don't ask for your identification. So a lot of people are talking about, oh, they're doing all these trades on the exchanges, and man, the more that they trade, more taxable events. Like I'm at the point where I don't even want to deal with that.
Right.
So I think if you're day trading without a decentralized exchange, that you have some big cojones, maybe more than me.
Yeah,
Some of these blockchains have immutable records that are persistent over time, though. So
Immutable
you're
records.
still taking some
Oh yeah, yeah.
risk here.
Yeah, but less. As long as
Less
you're not the
risk,
low,
got
you don't
it.
want to be the low fruit on the
How
tree.
to
right?
dodge taxes. Kylan
Yeah,
Hurt's
hey,
tale.
I don't think it's
This is the pirate show.
That is what pirates do.
I
They
think,
smuggle their money. They smuggle their goods.
I do not endorse that
yeah,
comment.
I know you don't. I don't. Yeah, the words said on here are not necessarily the viewpoints of the host. Okay, I guess one last thing that I want to go over was, and this is, we don't have to talk too much about this, but Binance, apparently they're making decent profits, more than Deutsche Bank, which I guess I don't know if that means much. I heard
No.
Deutsche Bank is having serious issues.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
Like my
anything.
mom texts me every day. She's like the economy's gonna collapse and it's Deutsche Bank's fault. There might be some truth to it. I
Is
don't
your
know.
mom in Germany or?
No.
Oh, she means our economy is going to collapse.
I think she thinks it's all gonna collapse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we can see like where Kylan got his economic sense from. If his
Yeah,
mom
yeah.
is texting him daily about
Yeah.
Deutsche Bank's liquidity issues.
Yeah.
A little
You think-
paranoid side. It's
You
all
think
good,
I like
though.
conspiracy theories, yeah. But so Binance is, I guess people are making a big deal because Binance, which is a relatively new company, is making more profits than I think both Twitter and Deutsche Bank. So on one hand, it's like, oh wow, that sounds crazy. But on the other hand, like Twitter's been known for not making a ton of profit.
Right.
Deutsche Bank it's like a known thing that they're in trouble. Binance is doing great considering how young they are. Do you think these cryptocurrency exchanges going forward, are they going to just continue growing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Decentralized exchanges might take some wind out of the sails, but that fiat to crypto onboarding is not about to go anywhere.
I mean, when you think about
Well, Binance doesn't even do fiat to crypto.
They do
just
not.
crypto
Okay.
to crypto,
Yeah.
So
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 then
that's-
they do have to be concerned about decentralized exchanges, then you would think, right?
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more about trust. You know, I think one guy who actually is a big proponent of Bitcoin Cash, he brought up a good point on decentralized exchanges. You know, people were concerned about decentralized email before.
What does that even mean? Decentralized email?
It means like, you know, you can
Like
actually
in the
host
cloud or like
you can host your own email server
right.
and make sure your email, you always have control of your email.
Right.
That was a big thing when email first came out for the technical guys. He said you know, some people still run theirs,
Right.
but Gmail is where you go when you want email, or maybe if you want the secret one, then what's that?
Pronto Mail.
Pronto Mail, yeah. So email is centralized in less than 5 places
Right.
when you think about it. So it's not that big of a deal for exchanges to be centralized, as long as they're trustworthy.
But you're not about to lose your emails. You don't have to worry about
Exactly.
spam, right?
Exactly. So Coinbase is, I mean, they've been running a very good track record for their few coins they're running, and GDAX. You know what I mean? So we got to remember those things, because I tried to use the decentralized exchanges before, and
they suck right now.
They're
don't
like
they?
going back to 1992.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's terrible.
Yeah,
They
they're
look
pretty
bad. They're slow. They don't work sometimes, and
The thing I've talked about this a lot of times, but like a decentralized exchange is a cool idea, but you'd only need a decentralized order book, which is way easier to do than a decentralized exchange.
Right.
So I mean, these things aren't really possible now, but they are technically possible to do atomic swaps between chains, which is a swap that happens at the same time.
Right.
So you don't need an exchange to handle that. You just
Right.
need an exchange to tell you, hey,
Coordinate
Tay
it.
wants to sell some
Right.
Bitcoin. I have some Litecoin I want Bitcoin for.
okay.
You guys should talk, and then we go
Yeah.
off chain, we do our atomic swap.
Right.
There's no risk to either one of us.
Gotcha.
So I mean, that sort of thing is coming. So like, I have a lot of opinions about Binance because like, one, they were an ICO, but I mean, two, they're freaking
Yeah.
successful as all get
Right.
out. I don't really know how much of that value has been returned to the token holders. They have like a token burning situation. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly how
no
that
idea.
works, but like, if they're actually returning that value to the shareholders somehow, I mean, technically, it's probably illegal if they are doing it, but
They did
if
move.
They are,
they did move, didn't they? They're like
So that's another thing I have a huge
Malta,
opinion about. But anyway,
Bahamas.
I hope that they are returning value to their shareholders, and then they are the only successful ICO that I'm like really aware of. Maybe Ethereum is the other one,
Right.
and then on top of that, it's really cool that they're making all this money and that countries are literally like falling over each other trying to attract them.
Right.
Like what's his name?
CZ. Just call him CZ.
CZ. He's been like running around lots of different countries. What was the one with the short?
Bermuda.
Was it St. Kitts?
Bermuda. It was Bermuda,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I like him. I kind of like the guy.
Yeah, I like him too. But then the other thing that I want to point out is that all the money they're making is trading fees. So it's all being sucked out of the crypto community from people trading. So I don't know how much you want to like cheer for that. Like it's
Right.
just high fees that they're allowed to charge because there's not a lot of other people competing for this.
Yes, I do think people need to be aware of. It'd be nicer if they had their fees up front for every trade you did. You just saw it right there. But there's something to that. They have actually used, at least I don't know about all that money, but they've used a portion of that money to give you a very capable mobile app experience.
I didn't even know they had a mobile app.
I
yeah.
still can't believe you do
Like-
trading from your phone.
I'm not saying I do it.
Oh.
But what I am saying is, like, if you have the Binance app on an Android and you download it and you look at it, you can see everything. You can place limits, sells with buttons. It's in the app, not like other websites where you got to go to their website and do all this.
Right.
It alerts you. It shows you when
Do you feel like you have all the control, even just
all the
in your
control.
phone?
You know what I mean? Like it shows you how much of your order is filled or not filled of an open order. So it's nobody else is even close when it comes to the app experience. And I said this in November, first time we talked about it, but obviously it caught on a lot bigger since then.
Yeah, I haven't used the app, but I've used a lot of the kind of like lower end exchanges and Binance
Right.
because of Bitcoin forks, selling those for people. And Binance is the top. Like
Right.
it is so much better than the other ones in the market. So.
The user interface is like, it looks
Yeah.
sharp.
Right.
And it's quick, and you don't have to worry about like when your coins are going to be sent in. They don't
Right.
have to worry about like when or deposits are going to be accepted.
Right.
Their
clear
little
on
captcha
everything.
thing, the captcha where you like drag it. It's like
Oh,
a
yeah,
puzzle
yeah,
piece.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
even that is like cool.
Well, I mean, I just thought about, so they got the Android app. I don't know. I don't think they have an iPhone app yet, but they got the Android app that works really good. They have obviously the website, but they also have the app for MacBooks. So you download the app on your Mac, and it's like you're running a trading desk almost.
so it's like even more control. I would think, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely more granular.
I
experience.
could see more that. I could see that happening more and more in the future. I mean, just think about it, if you're a trader, you want as much control as possible.
Right.
And
I don't need all that, but it's
On
that's
the
where
way out,
money's going.
forced prediction: does Binance get bought out, and does he end up making out like a bandit, or does he end up in jail? It's easy.
I
that's a
don't-
good question.
I don't
Where's
think-
he originally from? Is it South Korea or China? Or
China, I
China,
think.
I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he's from China, but Binance was originally founded
I
in
don't
China.
think
and then
he-
moved to Hong Kong, and
I
then
think-
tried to move to Japan. Got
I think that
booted.
the traders are gonna cover him. Like I think he's good. Like I don't think
Dude, yeah.
like they're
He seems smart. as
exactly
fuck,
the
that's
fact
for
that
sure.
he's moving from country to country so fast, or going to these countries and talking with people. And in Bermuda, for instance, he's given like $1 million to Bermuda right off the jump for educating the young into crypto.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he's building, wherever he's going, they're building crypto communities. So the ones that actually, kick him out, like I guess Japan doesn't need any new industry. They got plenty of money. But the smaller places that would say no, if this works out in 2-3 years, they're gonna look back and be like, oh man, we were at the top of the list. Now we gotta wait in line for 100 other countries.
Yeah, wherever he picks, probably should not have extradition. That should be the top of his list.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I guarantee that's at the forefront of his mind. Do you guys have any stories you wanted to go over? Do you feel like we covered everything?
Yeah, there's a new Lightning story that I think
Oh,
is
that's
pretty big
right.
news.
That's right.
So there was a new proposal put out recently. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. But if you're still here now, you're probably in for the meat and potatoes part
Yeah.
of crypto. So Lightning is a second layer solution that allows for really fast transactions. And it's kind of one of the things that brings me together with these guys because it's going to be cross-chain. You can use it on different blockchains. But one of the problems with Lightning is that you have to always be monitoring the blockchain to make sure that somebody else isn't cheating and trying to steal your money. The traditional way we did it is if somebody tried to cheat, you had a transaction you could send that says, hey, look, they're cheating. I get all the money in the channel. I take all the money. So you can punish them. But the problem with that is that you always have to be watching the network. So if you want to be able to do that without having to like do it yourself, you have to trust a watchtower to like watch the network for you.
Right.
And then you have to give them to the transaction that says broadcast this if they try to cheat and get me my money.
Right.
But that transaction also can be broadcast too early and be considered cheating and lose you all your money. So the watchtower can't steal your money, but they can give all your money to the other party.
Gotcha.
So that's a big risk, and it's hard to edit around.
Right.
This new proposal that just came out will change the way that Lightning works, that instead of having a punishment, you can only send the current state of the network. So like if me and Tay have a channel and I have 1 Bitcoin and he has 5, the only thing that can be sent is 1 5. Tay
Gotcha.
can't even try to send something that says I get 6, you get 0.
Right.
It's just not even possible. It's not a legal transaction on the Bitcoin network.
Gotcha.
So that's really cool, and it's going to be cool. But the real part that I'm really interested in this story is that actually requires a soft fork on Bitcoin. So we might be back into the SegWit era type thing where we're arguing about should we do this hard fork or the miners going to vote for it?
What percentage do we want?
Or are we just going to skip the whole miner voting thing and just have an activation date? So we're jumping back into that. Hopefully it just won't even be contentious. Hopefully everybody will just be like, this is cool. Maybe it's useful for people. I haven't actually dug into it a lot.
Right.
I think it's a pretty minor change. So I think there's a pretty good chance that it's not going to be contentious.
Right.
But it does require a change to Bitcoin, which is always a hard thing to do.
Right.
So.
Right. Do you think there's going to be too many more? Are they going to need many more of these, what I would call major changes in order to have Lightning work smoothly?
Well, yeah, I think it's possible to have it working now. This really helps with that watchtower issue, but I mean, you could design around that. Like it would be hard, but you could like have your own watchtower that like sits in your house and you're in control of it. But yeah, I remember way back when I read an article by Lalu that said there's like 3 different changes that he wanted. That would be like the first one's like Goku, and then it's like Super Saiyan, and then Super Saiyan 3 Lightning Network. He's a nerd. I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that there's one more that he wanted to get in, if possible. So we're trying for Super Saiyan Lightning Network at this
If
point.
they, do you have, so when do you think, I feel like he should be asking me this question. So when do you think Lightning Network on Bitcoin when will we start seeing it integrated into either desktop wallets, or I say mobile wallets, but that should be me. When do you think it actually starts getting really usable in people's hands? Like what's the forecast time-wise?
When do you think that'll happen, Kylan?
Well, you see, I'm not in the leadership of my company.
Yeah. I don't know if you want me to talk about. I actually have been following Paul and William. Kind of got themselves in the middle of a Twitter war, or started a Twitter war. It was really good outrage marketing. Congratulations to them. But I believe that they said basically they're just gonna develop the coins and maybe Lightning Network, but in their opinion, it's just another altcoin that people show interested in. So, I mean, I don't see anybody making Lightning payments anytime super soon. It's not really jumping up. But I was really into it for a little bit, and I was trying to make sure payments work. I got my couple ones to work, and then there's all right, I'll come back in a couple of months when things are actually working more smoothly.
Out,
I haven't checked back in, so I don't really know how it's progressing. But I did look at a Lightning Network Explorer earlier today, and it's still growing very quickly. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, and I saw the whole thing with the Q&A where they got in a little bit of a little Twitter scuffle.
Yeah.
And I guess I see both parts of it. They say, okay, when they were on Twitter saying stuff to maybe things were not said the best that they could. But on the other hand, it is like, well, okay, let's say Lightning Network works well, but let's say it is really hard to build. And then let's say another coin comes around and it works just as well. And all we have to do is, change a couple lines of code or whatever. Yeah, it's simply a cost and benefit analysis, essentially. I mean, we're a business. At least I'm not in the leadership. I assume that's how they look at it. So time will tell. Time will tell. I don't know. I don't think that we're in a hurry to be the first ones to do it because if we're not in a place where we can take those sorts of risks. But yeah, I think time will tell. I'm excited about it. I keep on thinking about it because we read about Ryblocks, and they're trying to be the fast instant payment thing. So then obviously you have second layer stuff, and you have Bitcoin Cash on-chain, trying to do on-chain scaling. So it is like there's multiple options going on, and no one's sure who's going to win. I will say with Ryblocks, there's kind of like a limit to how many transactions you can have per whatever. And I think that's kind of like you can't have like you can't be like a big store or something if you have to be able to like severely limit. So I don't know. I think Ryblocks is a great project. I just don't know if that'll end up being the solution.
Right.
What do you think? Any other stories that I didn't mention today? Anything that has crossed your desk that you think we should talk to the audience about?
No, I think we covered most of the stuff I was looking at.
Yeah,
recently.
there's one more thing, and I think I'm heading backwards a little bit here. Someone was asking
Is it this
about
YouTube question with
Yeah.
the Nasdaq? I can read it off for you.
There you go. Go ahead.
So Mark Mean asks
On YouTube. Yep.
Does Nasdaq have any ulterior motives aside from profits to centralize the mining hash power for Bitcoin? In addition to profits, governments also want to power. Great show. Also want power. Sorry, great show.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think profits for a company, profits are enough. Ulterior motives. I feel like if someone really tries to centralize mining hash power at this point, I feel like people would know. You can't be like one guy by yourself with all the Bitcoin miners in some secret, Himalayan vault.
I think you're right. It's not happening, and I think it would be hard to do. But one of the things with Bitcoin is you never actually know that. Like, it's impossible to actually know that. But if somebody was trying to attack the network, you would know that. You would be able to tell. Like, if somebody is trying to censor a transaction, you'd be able to tell. If somebody tries to reorg, that's pretty obviously. But as far as like, is somebody trying to centralize mining? I don't think that's Nasdaq. That's not their game. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're a big company, so how would they hide it? They wouldn't be able to hide it. I don't think so.
Where's this $1 billion on Nasdaq's statement? What's that called? Cash statement, bill statement.
Oh, well, it's just the money that's ready.
They report their finances.
Okay, yeah.
So if $1 billion is missing, and it's like, what is this for, guys?
Right.
Where is the $1 billion of this company money at?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just trying to overthrow Bitcoin. No big
Yeah,
deal.
Mark, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like we mentioned earlier, I don't think they're going to really get into the mining thing, and it could actually be a good thing to have them in there. Making it easy for people to buy and sell. At worst, it's just another. Option. So okay, I think we've covered pretty much everything this week, and so we will be on next week. We'll see. I might have a special guest on either next week or the week after that, but I don't want to make any announcements yet.
I guess we're not special.
You guys aren't guests, you're co-hosts.
True.
But also, I should be releasing an episode about Emanate, which I talked about earlier in this show, which is a decentralized app that's related to music that will be built on EOS. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I think San Diego Startup Week, I might end up doing a speech. I have to talk with Chris about that, so I'll try to record that. Try to record every presentation we give, just because otherwise it's lost in the wind, you know what I mean? So we got a lot of things coming up, so stay tuned. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit it, like it, share it, all those good things, and make sure you're here 4 p.m. every Tuesday Pacific time. Until next Tuesday, this is your captain and your crew wishing you fair winds and following seas. Set sail.